SA. It's got resources to basically help you with an escape plan and looking at some of the other things. If residents in San Antonio need a smoke alarm and they cannot afford one, that's important. If they cannot afford one, please contact 211 and request one. And we will schedule a time to come out and install it for you. Callers also need to select option 1 when they're calling 211. Smoke alarms can be purchased by anyone at any local home improvement or hardware store. But if it's one that's a low-cost it's a low-cost investment that can basically save your life. So again, we're asking you to visit firesafesa.com. We've had many home visits this year. Since October 1st, 2022. We have conducted 620 home safety surveys, and we've installed over 850 smoke alarms. So we're begging you to go out and get these smoke detectors. Make sure that you're checking on your neighbors. With the scan information that we talk about, and I'll quickly go through that. I don't have it up here. So anyway, we will get you that scan information. But again, as far as the San Antonio Fire Department, we have sent our behavioral health teams to go visit every station. I had the opportunity to visit Station 14, 28s, and went by Station 48s today, basically to talk to them. Very difficult run for us because all of us have children. So again, when you have kids, it affects you so much in so many ways. So again, I want to thank them for their efforts. And so we really want to make sure that we get this message out to each and every one of you. So when you go to firesafe.com, it's going to review safety plans, senior safety information, which is critical, fire safety for kids, school resources, seasonal fire safety videos, community resources, and public services as far as safety checks and smoke detector requests. This can be done off your phone. It can be done online. And so we really want you to make sure that you check smoke alarms, you plan for that escape, have a plan, and then for neighbors to check on one another. So again, we will take any questions that you have, but again, very challenging event for each and every member that responded on this. Very challenging and sad for us because we always preach the importance of having smoke detectors and having escape plans. So we will continue to pray for the one member of this family that is still in the hospital for a safe return. And then any questions that we will answer as many as we can. I've got my arson chief here to take care of any of the arson questions. So we'll go ahead and start with a question. Yes, sir?
Chief, do you guys have a cause for it yet? And the second one was, how common is it for homes to not have, in neighborhoods, because some neighbors have said that they didn't have smoke detectors either, how common is it for neighborhoods not to have smoke detectors?
You know, I'll answer the second one first. I don't know how common it is, but again, we make an effort to go out on every call that we go on. If we go on a call and we have time, we're going to check that smoke detector, irregardless of what we're there for, if we have the opportunity. And that's the other reason that we canvass that neighborhood. Anytime we have a fire fatality in a neighborhood, the next day, we're going to canvass that neighborhood to make sure that we, again, take this opportunity of the tragedy to make sure that people have smoke detectors. I'll bring Arson Chief up, Barry, to take care of the investigation question.
Thanks, Chief. Good afternoon. Douglas Berry is the name. I'm the Division Chief over the Arson Bureau. To address the question about the cause of the fire, it is still under investigation and the exact cause is undetermined. However, I can tell you through the process of our investigation, we have found nothing suspicious and there's no intentional set fire or any intentional set fire. So we continue to work our way through our investigation. We have several things we need to track down and continue with, but right now it's still undetermined. We do know that it did start in the garage. There was heavy smoke and fire in the garage, and then smoke and heavy smoke in the house itself.
Thank you.
People that deceased, did they die of smoke inhalation?
We're not going to say the cause, but again, we know that we treated people for smoke inhalation during that incident. But again, Patty, the fire was in the garage, basically contained, so we had a lot of heavy heat and a lot of smoke that basically poured into that house.
For how long was it smoking in the house?
I have no idea. I think, we're gonna look at dash cams to see. We don't know how long or when the fire initially started. Those are things we're still looking at.
In talking with the firefighters that you said you visited the stations, how are they doing? I know you mentioned that this is difficult because many of you guys have children, but can you just take us into what the conversation was like?
Yeah, so we started that on Saturday. We basically Saturday morning, probably 5 or so, we started with a tailgate in the driveway of the house. And kind of everybody went through as far as what individual companies, what they did, what their task was. And then we talked to them, and I told them most firefighters never have a live save in their careers. So normally you get to a fire, you put the fire out. Sometimes, unfortunately, someone's dead there already to where the fire had grown to a size that we could not rescue them. But as far as firefighters actually going in and going across beds and pulling people out, that's something that we don't experience very often, thank goodness. And then you bring that person out, you bring them out, and then you turn them over to somebody else to start resuscitating them, and then you get another assignment. So you may be going back in or something like that. So this number was significant. And so we wanted to make sure that we started the process with the tailboard by talking to them then. And then we wanted them to go home and get some rest, hug their kids. And so every firefighter that I talked to today, that's the first thing they did. They went home to lay their eyes on their kids and wrap their kids up in their arms. But I guarantee everyone that I talked to today, they also check their smoke detectors too. So it's something that we need to continue to remember. So then we had a formal phone call that went out to each and every member to kind of check on their well-beings, to see how they were doing. That continued through last night, where I talked to a few people and talked to the command officer. And then this morning at 9 o'clock, I went to Station 14, and they were sitting there having coffee. So to be able to talk to them and hear their experiences, you have to remember that they were all working. This is the tail end of the shift. This is 3 in the morning. So a lot of them had just gotten to bed, or they were still up running calls during this time. So just to talk to them about what they thought about the incident, what they did, how they felt when they went home. All of them went home, hugged their wives, hugged their kids, a couple of them crawled in bed with their kids. And that's the one thing that I went on a rescue as a young firefighter. I didn't have any children. And it affected me differently. It affected me as a child, but it didn't affect me as far as, seeing my kid in that situation. So everybody that went in that house, you saw family pictures up, you saw things that make you kind of think about your own, family and what could happen to them. So just going by to offer again support from them, for them, and then making sure that we're going to have teams, resiliency teams that are going to go visit every station just to make sure we're supporting them through this time. But again, it was a lot of people are feeling the same way. It's like something that you go on, you just don't expect to see, and then you don't expect to see in that number of victims that you're pulling out. Thanks for the question.
Chief, can you talk about the relations of the victims? Do you know any more about that?
We just know that there's a grandfather, there's generations. So there's a grandfather, and then a daughter, and then another daughter and grandkids.
Chief, what responsibility falls on you guys in the fire department to check as many homes as possible, get as many smoke detectors as possible, so something like this doesn't happen?
Well, I think the responsibility, I'm gonna throw the responsibility back to each and every one of you. You've got to go out there, because people are gonna watch this newscast. So you have to stress the importance of doing that. If someone calls us, if we get word that someone needs one, we're gonna come out and do a home check, and we're gonna do that. But again, it needs to be stressed to everyone that you know, all of your neighbors when you go home, all of your friends and family members when you go home. It has to be a personal responsibility also.
Chief, would it seem like maybe like a city campaign to like help others, like especially with Boeing, come to, get them involved in showing them how important this is? Maybe like a city campaign to help everyone involved.
So we have a city campaign, and it's called firesafesa.com. So it is just navigating people to that information, and that's what we need your help with.
What about an operating
fire alarm in there? I mean, a lot of people that do have them, sometimes the batteries run out, and how often do they check that, you know?
Well, you know, and again, I went through my house yesterday, and I had a dead battery on 2. And the other 3 worked, and one's hardwired. But again, it jolted me enough to make me go check. So anyone that's listening to your reports today, you have to stress that time and time again. And so it's unfortunate that we're using this tragic opportunity to get the message out, but it's absolutely necessary that we stress that point with everybody, and then go online and figure out what the escape plan is. Don't call 911 from your bedroom. Get out of the house. Get everybody out. If you hear that smoke, don't go looking for the cause of the smoke. Get out of the house. So that's the information that we have readily available for each and every person, and we just need them to pay attention to it.
Chief, just to confirm with you, you said there was no working smoke detectors, or there was one upstairs?
There was one upstairs, and so we did hear that one. Initial reports that I had, there was not one working. There was one working, but again, for that size of house, there needed to be multiples.
If there was multiple and it was up to your standard, do you think those lives would have been saved?
Again, I'm not even going to speculate. I've got 5 people that have died. I just need to take the opportunity to make sure that people check their smoke detectors. Again, just a very sad deal when you figure out where the fire started. It started in the garage. That smoke transmitted throughout that house.
Chief, since the start in the garage, y'all don't have a cause yet, but is this a reason for us to inspect our own garages to look for fire hazards this time of year?
Well, I think you need to look for fire hazards throughout the year. I think, again, if it was me, I'm going to go back and look at every possible thing that could cause a fire in my house and look at that. So this is an opportunity, again, to spread that message of being safe in our homes, having an escape plan, getting out of the houses. Another thing, it appears that everyone lived in this house, but say you have a sleepover. You got 10 kids in your house and aren't normally there. You have to discuss an escape plan with them. If something happens, this is where you go. If something happens, we're going to meet across the street over here. So those plans go for everyone, and so we just need to stress that.
As many homes as you guys go into, what is the common kind of cause that you see for people not having smoke detectors? Is it that they're dead? Is it that they're kind of ignorant to the fact of them? Is it that they're taking the smoke detectors out?
It could be, and probably all of those things. Yeah, all of those things. But if we go on a medical run and we have the time, we're going to install a smoke detector if they need one. And so we're not usually asking, why'd you take the battery out or whatever. It's about being responsible, making sure that they have a smoke detector. And so the whys are all of those things that you just mentioned.
Chief, have you been in touch with any of the family members of survivors?
No, ma'am, I have not personally had very brief conversations with the grandfather before. We transported him at the back of the ambulance, but that's been it.
Any idea how long the investigation might take?
I have no idea. You know, again, the grandfather is in critical condition, and so again, he's going to be someone important that we're going to need to talk to. All right.
Thank you, everybody. I can answer any further questions on firesafe.com if you
Okay.
Everyone's got a handout, correct?
Yeah, I need
Chief,
that
could
one.
you take a question on the heat plaguing the city right now? Do you have just 1 second? Can you talk about your heat response, heat-related illnesses across the city? This thing's been going on for 2 months.
Yeah, it's been bad. It's been hot, but every fire department in the nation is dealing with heat. We're more prepared than most because you can see, say, Denver fire or Salt Lake City. They're not used to the heat, so we're prepared for the heat. Our heat calls have gone up. Another thing for people that are watching, please don't throw your cigarette butts out on the side of the road because those grass fires are very dangerous for us, and just another call that we're going to have to respond on. So, and I've got, so this year, so we go to level 2, and level 2 is a heat index that's over 96 degrees with a heat index. And so when that happens, what that causes us to send more resources to fires. And so, so far this year, operating at level 2, we've operated level 2 for 45 out of 53 days between June and July. So it's extremely hot. So anything that we can do to minimize the guys and girls going out on those additional runs, when you see them standing out on 281 or 1604 at an automobile accident, they're taking in heat. And when you run 10 or 12 of those a day, it can catch up with you. So again, we're sending more resources on our fires. We're making sure that we actively rehab our members, whether that's checking their blood sugar, starting IVs on them, anything like that. And I can tell you from this fire here, and it was 3 in the morning, we started IVs on a couple of our guys just to make sure that they're rehabbed, because they're gonna have to potentially go on another one before the end of the shift. So it's extremely hot. We again need your help with that to prevent as many fires as possible.
Any idea how hot it gets for you guys at a fire like that?
It's just hot. I've had that question. Hot is hot. It's hot. I mean, I can't give you degree. It's just hot, and it takes its toll on you. And so again, our fitness, our hydration, how we respond on these runs, our work management as far as what we do on those, it's all critical this time of year.
The
All right.
extra resources that you have to take, does that include like overtime for your department?
No, not overtime. This is just extra units. Instead of sending 4 engines, we're going to send 5. Instead of sending 2 ladders, we're going to send 3. All right. Thank you, guys.
I just have one more
Yeah.
for you if you wanted.
Yeah. You get up here?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
a lot of the neighbors were saying that they also didn't have smoke detectors, so is
Sure.
it kind of safe to assume that you guys checked most of those homes and now?
So
half
that's-
the
that's
neighbors
a,
should still have?
Anytime we unfortunately have a fatality, a fire with a resident, we do canvass the neighborhoods, the general, right around that home to make sure. But that's why we also stress the messaging when we partner with you guys to stress that messaging about calling 211, option 1, to request it, or to get on the firesafesa.com website and request it. Those resources, obviously, we try to reserve them for those residents that might not be able to afford a smoke alarm, or our elderly residents that need some assistance. But just stressing that message, we do it to show that, hey, we need to check. Obviously, there's an issue at this home, so when we canvass, we can canvass the immediate area to check it. So that's what happens there.
In canvassing that area, did you find that there were a lot of homes that didn't
So
need smoke detectors?
that I don't have that information, whether they did or not, but we do carry a stash of smoke alarms that we can instantly install if need be, if we do come across that, but I didn't get results on what was found that morning.
Could
Yep.
you please repeat how many people were declared there from the fire?
Right, so there were 6 individuals staying in the home at the time. 1 individual was DOA at the scene. 5 were transported to local hospitals. Since then, 4 more additional have passed away. So 5 out of the 6 have passed away that were in the home.
So in the 3 kids, 12, 11, and 6, those
Correct.
are all 3 that died. There was a 29-year-old and a 50-year-old that all
Correct.
passed
Two
away.
2 females, 2 adult females, 3 children are what have passed away.
And
as
the
of now.
grandfather is how old?
I don't have an exact age. Last I saw, 70s.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so around five or 6 were dead?
There were 6 people total in the house. 5 of the 6 have passed away. One remains hospitalized.
Are those 11 and 6-year-old, are they girls?
Correct, yeah, of the children that passed away, the two females were 11 and 6, and the male was 12.
Do you have any idea how many people take advantage of these safety checks each year?
So I can tell you, since October, we have performed 620 home safety checks, and we've installed 850 smoke alarms. That's since October as of this morning.
And do you know the total amount of people that have died this year?
I don't have that right away, but I can get it for you. Anybody else?
The chief, again, just to recap,
Sure.
so this was the deadliest fire since when?
Since 2012, when we had 4 individuals that passed away in a boarding house fire here in San Antonio. Everybody good?
Thank you.
Yep.
Guys, again,